Good morning. My name is Sarah Slusher, and I am a reading and math interventionist at the Early Learning Village. And my job is to work with our kindergarten students who just need a little help catching up in reading and math. So if you have a student who is receiving Tier 3 intervention support, chances are they either work with myself or one of my two teammates. My first teammate is Molly Irwin, and she's a certified teacher. She's taught kindergarten at the village for quite a while before she stepped into her role as an interventionist. And our other teammate is Mary Beth Miles, and she is also a certified teacher. She taught preschool at the village up until last year, and this year she's decided to return as an interventionist. So the three of us serve most of our Tier 3 students. We have a few that work with our specials teachers, so Miss Jessie or Coach Adkins or Miss D or Miss Davidson. And some of them may also work with Miss Miller, who's our music teacher, or Susan Straight, who is our academic coach at the village. But most of our Tier 3 students work with myself, Miss Miles, or Miss Irwin. So I wanted to film a few short videos for you so that you know some strategies that you can maybe try at home with your students, and also just so that you know a little bit about the structure of what we do when your children come to reading and math interventions with us. So something that our school is really trying to pilot this year and use with a lot of our students is what we call multisensory strategies or multisensory instruction. So this is a really cool way to learn, I think. I've been to a few trainings on this, and our interventionists have also received some training on multisensory. So basically what multisensory instruction is teaching our students and teaching our children content, so letters, letter sounds, sight words, numbers, things like that, using as many of the five senses as possible. So what research and scientists have sort of learned about the brain is that when you engage multiple sensory pathways, so when you're thinking about your sense of touch or your sense of sound or sight, or when you're engaging your body, kinesthetically is what we call it, but when you're using your body basically, those sensory pathways, the more of them that you're using to learn something, the better your brain will learn it and remember it. So I'm just going to show you guys a few of the things that we use in Tier 3, and your kids may also do this in the classroom too. So one of my favorite sensory tools, I guess, that we use is our sand trays. So this is something that would be really easy for you to try out at home. I know I've done it with my kids. I have a 3-year-old and then a 5-year-old who's in kindergarten at the village. But this is a really fun way to practice a lot of different skills academically. So some of us have, this is like just a 8x8 pan, and we've put just sand in it that we brought back from the beach. But this is kind of a cool way to practice writing numbers, practice writing letters. You can write sight words in here. You can have your kids sound out words and then figure out how to write them in the sand. If you don't have sand, but you have a pan, an easy way to sort of make your own at home is just with some salt. I have made a few sand trays using salt, and then I found this decorative sand. I found it at Hobby Lobby. You don't have to have both of these things, but I'll show you how to make magic sand with this. Well, it's not really magic sand, but I like to call it that. That's what they called it at a training I went to. But you can use salt as well as sand. You can just dump that into your tray, and it's going to give you the same effect as the sand would. So the goal here being, when your kids are practicing writing things in the sand, they are going to be using their sense of touch because the salt is going to have a different texture to it. You're also going to be engaging their body because they're not just writing with a pencil, which is not very kinesthetic. They're using their arms and their hands more to build the numbers or the letters or the words in the salt. The other thing to remember when you're having your kids use a sand tray or a salt tray is to have them talk. When we do our sand writing in the classroom, I always really encourage my students to talk to me while they are doing it. Not like talking about the day and the weather, but to talk about what they are writing. So if I have my kids, for example, write me the letter that says T, they're not just going to write a T. While they're writing, they're going to go T while they write it, and then they're going to underline it and make the sound and go T. Because when you do that, your students are using their sense of touch. They're also using their body, so the kinesthetic. They also are seeing it. It's kind of a different contrast between the salt and the tray. And they're using their voice and they're listening. They're using all of those senses to work on one thing. So that's the goal of using the salt tray, is to use all of those senses. If you were doing it with numbers, you could say, write me the number 5, and then your students might write you a 5, and they're going to say 5. You could also do it to where you say, how many fingers am I holding up? Write that number in the salt. So if they look at your fingers, and then they're going to write 10 in the sand, and they're going to say 1, 0, 10. So there's lots of ways that you can use this. You could use it with sight words. You could say, write me the word go. When your kids are writing it, they're going to go G-O, go. You could use it for consonant, vowel, consonant words, words that start with a consonant, have a vowel in the middle, and end with a consonant, and that are regular words that are where the letters are going to make the normal sound. So you might use the word rat because the R makes its normal sound, the A makes its normal sound, and the T makes its normal sound. So if you were having your child write the word rat in their sand tray, they're going to go R, so R, A, T, T, and then they're going to underline it and say what the word is, rat. And those are just some different ways that you can use this to work on both reading and math. Another cool version of this, I actually got this at a training that I went to. So I got this, the company that makes this is called Magic Sand. But you basically have a very fine sand on the bottom, and then you have a coarser, a bigger piece of sand on the top. So when you write in it, you move the top out of the way, but you get that contrast of the black and the green. So that's just another fun tool to do that. You can make your own if you happen to have some sand at home, and you don't just have salt. But if you pour some of this blue sand in there, what happens is that I might need to add a little bit more. What happens though is that the blue sand is a little bit finer than the salt. And so when you go to write in it, you get that contrast between the white and the blue in your sand, or in your salt. I keep calling it sand. It's salt and sand. So those are 2 tools that I use almost every single day with my students in intervention for both reading and for math. It's a fun way. It's engaging. The kids really like it when we pull out the sand trays. But it's also really good for their learning because they're using lots of senses as they use those tools. I'm going to show you a couple other cool tools in this video. So this isn't my first choice for a sensory writing surface, but it's something that a lot of you may have. This is just a Magnadoodle that I bought at Walmart. But it is kind of a fun way for our students to practice their writing sometimes because it is a little bit textured. The surface is a little bit bumpy. It's not as bumpy as using salt or sand, but it is a fun way for them to practice. The thing I really like about using a Magnadoodle for writing practice is that these pens are really small. So a lot of times it forces our students to have a proper grasp on their pen when they're writing. A lot of times our students are struggling with holding their pencils correctly, or they just don't have a lot of practice yet with writing. In a digital age, that happens a lot. So this is a great way to help them build that skill. So the same thing as when you're using the salt tray or the sand tray, when you have them write, if they're going to practice writing some letter sounds, you might say, write me the letter that says L. Well, when they write, they're going to go L, L. So they're going to write the letter and say what it is, L, and then they're going to draw the line and make the sound, L. So they're practicing both skills. They're practicing spelling and they're practicing the sound. So that's the Magnadoodle. And I'm going to show you one more thing, and you probably won't have this at your house, but I also bought these at Hobby Lobby in the sewing embroidery area where they have the yarn. But it's just a mesh screen, and it's made of plastic. And it came in like a big sheet, and I just cut it into little sections for my students to use. But the thing that I love about this mesh screen is that when our students write on it, it's bumpy. So it's not just like writing on normal paper. They're getting that sensory component when they write. So for example, if I was having them practice writing a sight word, so if I said, okay, let's write the word see. When they write, they're going to spell it as they write. Again, having them talk the whole time. S-E-E-C. And then it makes the letters, you can see the bumps from where they've been writing on top of the mesh screen. That bumpy sensation as they're talking and writing all at the same time is helping build a stronger pathway in their brain when they think about the sight word see. So just another cool strategy, you would want to use a crayon for this. It's the best because you're going to get, it's just the best tool to use for this, but you can use a marker, you can use a pencil. Crayon's probably going to be your best bet though. So those are just a few of my favorite sensory strategies that I can use for reading or for math. Again, you could use this same tool to work on numbers. You could say, write me the number 12, and they're going to go 1, 2, 12. Or you could do the finger pattern, a strategy where you say, I'm going to show you a number on my fingers, and that's the number I want you to write on your screen. So you might do this, and then they're going to write, 5. It's just another way to work on another skill as well as number writing and number recognition. So those are a few of my favorite sensory strategies, and I'm going to be making a few other videos to share with you that talk about just kind of like a full piece of our lesson that we would do each day, and hopefully there'll be something that you can show to your kids at home and use with them in this time off of school. Thanks so much for watching.